Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for coming on to my CEO chat. I'm so excited. Guys, this is literally one of my best friends, Melly Poet
Yes.
on IG, but Melissa Lyken. I love her so much, and I got to see her grow. You know, as I was growing in my industry, I saw her grow in her industry, and we've just been so in alignment with our paths and been helping each other on the way with like important gems that have been so life-changing for me. And I just wanted to share that. And this episode is called Making Six Figures on Your Laptop. And that is something that I've been able to see Melissa. I've like literally witnessed the day-to-day of how Melissa got to do it. And I just wanted to share that with everybody and introduce my best friend, Melissa. What's up, girl? How you doing?
Hey, Nicole, that was an awesome introduction. I'm so happy on your podcast. I've known Nicole now for, I want to say a few years. And yeah, I mean, in the time that we've known each other, I've made so many transitions. I've seen Nicole grow so much herself. So I'm really happy to, do this call and get into detail about it.
Yeah. So I kind of want to go into how we know each other a little bit so people can have some context for our relationship, and then we can talk about the money. So okay. You want to talk about how we met, or do you want me to say it?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about it. So at the time I was a student at the University of California, Santa Cruz, and one of my majors was community studies. So that included doing a 6-month field study. So I was doing my research. I was looking for a nonprofit to work with, but I knew that I wanted to do work that centered around Black women, Black girls, and just do work that was important to me. So I did a lot of research and I found a nonprofit in New York, and I reached out, and the CEO got back and said, like, yeah, we're looking for an intern. It would be perfect. So we worked out all the details, and I flew to New York for 6 months. So I stayed in New York, but at the time, Princeton University. So that was actually my first stop. And so that's where I met Nicole. So Nicole's mom was the CEO of At the Well conferences in New York. And so, yeah, for those few months initially at the Well conference, the 2-week camp at Princeton University, I got to meet Nicole. I got to be involved in the work that At the Well was doing. And during that time, Nicole and I were engaging in really like critical conversations with each other, but it wasn't until much later that our relationship like really started to develop.
Heck yeah. And then we were just surrounded around, like, it was kind of crazy, like older, successful, entrepreneurial Black women. And then we were also surrounded around like the younger generation of like young Black women trying to become, like the ones that have became, and then the ones that were becoming. And then there was just us like in the middle. Yeah. And then it's so beautiful. And there's so much like that we can peel back from that. And then we just met each other in the midst. But I'm so excited and happy and thankful for our friendship, because I swear, like, I would not be where I am today without the support and help of one of my good friends. So I am just so happy to have you in my life. And one of the best things I got to see is like you grow to becoming like a landlord, to making money on your laptop, like how did this all get started, this entrepreneurial journey for you?
Yeah, so I moved to Phoenix on my own in 2018. So when I moved here, I didn't have like anything. I reached out to my aunt and uncle and I was like, hey, can I stay with you guys for a month? Like I made a promise to them and myself that I would be out in a month, and I did it. I found a job as a legal assistant, and my very first job as a legal assistant, I absolutely hated it. But I just signed the lease, and so I was afraid, I was nervous. But then I found another legal assistant job, and that was much better. And then I became a paralegal. And so I was constantly learning new things as a legal assistant and paralegal. But there was just like law is very like conflict oriented. And so I was like constantly, you know, driving to work and working, and it was always so much. And then I also had this place that I was staying in that I was paying way too much for on my own. And so I kind of just got to a place mentally where I was like, there has to be more to life than this, than living like working in a cubicle, you know, working in an office environment, not being able to like be outside and live the life that I want to, and paying, you know, so much to live. And so around that time, I just started to brainstorm and think about what I could do to create the life that I wanted. And one of the main words that came up for me was self-sustainability. So I started to focus on what I could do to create a self-sustainable lifestyle where I wouldn't have to need anyone to provide for me. So I started off with my housing. And then I also transitioned into like my working environment, because around that time, the that I was working with, it was just, I didn't have any windows. So by that time, I was ready for something new.
You cut off there for a second. You said, I think you said
okay.
By that time, and then you cut off. I don't know if you remember what you just said.
Yeah. So by the time, I'll repeat it. So by that time, I was just ready for something new. So when I started focusing on self-sustainability, I was focusing on changing my housing environment and then changing my work environment, because the very last employer that I had was very draining. I was working in an office that didn't have any windows. So I was like, I had so much anxiety. And I realized like it was my responsibility to change the way my life looked.
Right. So basically what I'm hearing from you is that you started this entrepreneurial journey as like a need for yourself, feeling overwhelmed, feeling suffocated, you know, from having all these bills, from working with an employer that didn't necessarily serve you, and just working in an office environment that didn't make you feel comfortable. And it was almost like you were so uncomfortable that you needed to see change, and you were willing to put in those steps to drastically change your life. And then, so where are you now? So like, what are you doing now? What's happening?
So now I'm currently sitting in a property that my family and I own, which is a beautiful thing. So I got here, like I said, in 2018, and in 2019, we acquired a multifamily. So our property is a duplex. Each unit is 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So 10 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms altogether. I'm in my room currently. My office is upstairs. And it's a really beautiful thing. So in addition to that, like, I work from home. So all of the work that I do is solely just on my computer. If I'm working, you know, remotely, or if I want to like leave my house, I'll take my my iPad with me. But that's in essence how I work now.
So why'd you pick a duplex? I know you mentioned self-sustainability, but I really want you to explain to people like what a duplex has helped you achieve.
Right. So around this time that I was thinking about self-sustainability, I was on like Instagram, and you had posted about your post, or it was actually an Instagram story. So your story said something along the lines of like, most people think the American dream is like buying a single family home. But you were pretty much saying like, that's not really the dream, because now you're constantly having to make payments every month as you would for rent. And you were like, multi-families allow you the flexibility to have someone else pay, you know, for you to live. Like, that expense is no longer yours. And so around that time, I wasn't necessarily thinking about becoming a landlord. The goal was to start a group home. And so I was looking for places to rent, and nobody, like, renters are not allowed to run businesses in their like where they're renting unless the landlord allows it. And that was really hard to find. We couldn't find anything. So I was like, okay, we need to buy. And so that planted the seed of, while I was thinking about buying for the purpose of renting a group home. I was like, is it possible for us to do this, you know, with a multifamily? And I was like, well, yeah, we can do it times 2 or times 3 or times 4, how many units we have. And so I found this duplex. It needed a little bit of work. It was pretty much cosmetic. And, you know, we got the work done. And so we moved into, you know, this unit. And the goal was whenever we're ready to start our group home, we'll be able to do that. But let's rent it out for now so that we don't have to think about paying the bills. We don't have to pay the mortgage. And it's been such a real big blessing, because since we've been here, like, we have not paid, like, I don't have to pay the mortgage for the most part.
You live for free, right? Like, totally. You live for
get to live for free.
Wow.
Like, in essence, yeah. I mean, we have utilities and stuff like that, but that's about it. And if and when we're ready to move out of this unit, this property would cash flow. So it's really a beautiful thing to be able to live, like I said, in a 5-bedroom house in like Central City, Phoenix, and not have a bill associated with that, you know? And so that was one of the big things. Yeah, yes. But that was one of the big things that allowed me to take, you know, my next step of quitting my job. Because to make a step like that, you know what I mean? There's often like these fears. I have all these bills. I have to pay my rent. Like, I don't want to get evicted. I don't want to have all these issues.
Right.
And so being able to move into a place where I completely eliminated my biggest expense allowed me to have the peace of mind to walk into my next chapter. Right. And this was all happening around the time my uncle was in the hospital, and he was dying of cancer. And you know, he was in the hospital, and we had, you know, contractors coming in and out of the house, and I needed, like, I couldn't be sitting at work on the phone, you know, constantly wondering what was going on. And so I was ready to make a step that would allow me to, in essence, live the life that I wanted to live without having to ask for somebody's permission.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. And then like being able to self-sustain your living, you know, through the means of multifamily, through the means of rental income is huge. You know, most people work because they're afraid to be homeless. You know what I mean? Like, you have to. And then so now you're like, oh, wait, like, I have a home. My home pays for itself. like that. At how old were you when you got it with your family? By any? Do you remember?
Yeah. So I think 23. I was 23.
23 years old. You know, you could live in this situation and live for free for the next 30 years of your life. Like, it's like you've got it, you hacked it, you know? And then so you're saying was the thing that was able to propel you to quit your job and then that's when you took the next step on this Upwork journey. Does that sound correct? Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, that time. Yeah, so we acquired this property in June of 2019.
Yeah.
And I quit my job in, I want to say, either August or October. Wow. So one of those, so it was a few months afterwards that I, like I said, I had all that stuff going on in my life, but I was also comfortable at that point because we moved in. Mm-hmm. We, like, literally 1 month after we got the property, we were doing a bunch of work on it so we can get it rented out the next month. Wow. So when you buy a property, the first month, you don't have to pay mortgage. So we were working. So we wouldn't be working when we had a payment due. And so that very next month, by that next month, we had the house rented, and we were good to go.
Wow. Well, Melissa, I'm going to create 2 parts to this interview because I have a couple questions on
Yeah.
you for Upwork and how you got started and where you're at now. And we hit the 15-minute mark.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end this first part of the interview now. So now people will know like, this is the setup for the come up, and then we can hit it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Keep them coming, reel them in. Because you are a 6-figure business, you know, you do have multiple streams of income at this point. We're talking property, we're talking Upwork, we're talking like you have other ambitions going on that we talk about and try to manifest. And like, it is so incredible to see someone at 25 with all this going on, and then where you'll be in 5 years is going to be tremendous. And I want people to tune in on the next episode of CEO Chats. So Melissa, I'm going to end it here. I'm going to end the recording.